we're talking about. So character, the mental and moral qualities distinct to an individual.
That's what Google says.
Yeah, so that, straight off the truth. So yeah, I just want to kind of contextualize why I think we need to talk about character. And I think that's because we're living in I don't know if you agree, James, I guess a post-Christian culture.
Yeah, definitely in the West.
I've heard this phrase. I think it's on a book somewhere. This term digital Babylon.
On a book.
Well, on the front cover. Do you know what I mean? I was gonna say but yeah. I quite like that phrase because it's obviously it's Bible reference, Daniel and Babylon, but it's that idea that living kind of not in your hometown like Daniel was, but so I'm just gonna kind of dive into, I guess, what culture says about character and why that's kind of a problem. I guess, James, what do you think culture says about kind of character and why that we can't just use that?
Yeah, well, I really like that idea of digital Babylon, and I think it's really interesting to think about culture and how, especially as Christians, how we can react to that and be aware of what's going on, because otherwise, if we pay no attention, we'll get swept away. But I think the Google definition, mental and moral qualities distinct to an individual, is really interesting, because what stood out to me there was the moral qualities distinct to an individual. So it's moral qualities are different for every person, and it's kind of I guess the culture today there isn't much. There doesn't seem to be much place on character. I think a lot of people, culture sort of talks about character, it's, you've got to be a really good person and things like that. But I think a lot of it is more appearance than actual character. I've heard a quote where character is what you do when nobody is looking.
I like
that. I don't know who said that. It's just a classic internet quote. But I think that's interesting because today I think people confuse character, and if no one's looking, they're not bothered. So I think people do it from a place of falsehood, and I think that is why it's really important that we try and go to the Bible and see what is character, and how can we avoid this sort of false appearance, and that, I guess, that leads to striving as well, trying really hard to do good things, which again is completely against what we believe. We don't want to try hard to do good things to be good people. But yeah, that's kind of the first thought off the back of what you said.
I think that's interesting because a lot when you think about character, it's who you are, but I think it's kind of more than that, obviously. It's more than just your personality traits, I think. But I guess, so looking at what culture says, what I think kind of comes through very much, I don't know if you agree, James, is this idea of kind of just be who you are. Now, if you're hearing that and you're thinking, what's wrong with that? I there is truth in that. So it is good to kind of be your personality, but at the same time,
you were made to be.
But at the same time, we are sinful.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes people can read that as just doesn't matter really who you are, and it doesn't matter what kind of person you are. I don't know. I guess I've got specific examples in my head just of people not being very nice. I don't know, it's The Apprentice or something. It's a bit random, but it's that idea of they've just been absolutely horrible to themselves, arguing, but it doesn't matter because it's for business.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter because they want to win The Apprentice.
Yeah.
And it's that I guess kind of you do you, just you get to the top. Doesn't matter if you step on people.
Yeah. I guess that's the problem with that definition. Mental moral quality is distinct to an individual, because by that standard and what you were saying, I can be a good person by absolutely rinsing someone else, because at the end of it, I'm getting a business deal or whatever, even if I step on them.